Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Start Your Day the 501 Way. I'm Sean. This is Nick. Today we are talking about the core. A little bit of basic core. We're not going to get too in detail on some of the stuff and more stability and things like that, but just how to get a good core workout in, when to use some of the workouts, and generally just what is the core? What do we mean when we're talking about that? So, based on that, Nick, what is the core?
You see, that's a good question, Sean. I
love
like that.
this.
I like that question. It's a good one. Because a lot of people, when you say the core, they just think of the abs, right? Six-pack.
Yep. You got a six-pack?
It's in there somewhere.
There's like some moss on top of it, but under the moss, rock hard.
See, what I like to say is, why bring a six-pack to the party when you can bring the K?
That's
what I'm saying.
Attaboy. So there isn't exactly a universally agreed upon definition of the core. The most common is the lumbo-pelvic hip complex, which is basically everything from like here to here, so like just below the pecs to like
just below the waistband.
Yeah, just below the waistband.
Which I think that's actually kind of important because a lot of people, I mean, this is more from my emergency medicine background, a lot of people don't realize that the abdominal cavity goes into the pelvis. It goes below the waistline.
And it comes in and attaches down at the bottom. A big subject of disagreement is whether or not the glutes count as part of the core. I would say 100%, absolutely, they're part of the core, part of the hips. I know that some people don't say that, but to me it's everything in the middle that stabilizes. Basically, in my eyes, if it's not on an appendage, moving an appendage, it's the core. That's kind of what I stick with.
Interesting. I've actually never heard that one, but I don't think my opinion really matters in a lot of these things.
What do you think of the core?
I mean, I think of the more traditional, of what I think a lot of people think of is it's all the muscles around here, basically between, starting at the lower ribs down into the pelvic floor. All those muscles right in there. And I think just to easy kind of break it down, a lot of people, we say we have upper abs, we have lower abs, we have obliques, and I think what a lot of people miss is your back musculature too. That's a big one. That's a big part of the core. Although a big part of the core that's often injured, often strained because we're not using it correctly, right?
Yeah, the world is in front of us, and we see everything in front of us, so we tend to be front focused. You know, there's a lot of neat stuff on the front, Sean, and so people forget about the back. There's some neat stuff on the back too, but people tend to forget about it.
Can't we know? Anyway,
I forgot what we were talking about now because I got distracted.
a little off topic.
I got a little distracted thinking about things.
Just like so it kind of we just find the core, but what does it do? Like why are we gonna spend this time talking about the core? The core has a very protective function. First of all, there are no bones in this area aside from the spinal cord to really support our upper body, our being, right? The ribs end right about here on me. And then we don't have more bones except for the spinal cord until we get down here. The spinal cord really, it has a lot of attachments to it. It has a lot of places where the muscles connect to, but it doesn't really have a very strong role in the overall support of the skeletal system. Yes, it does. I mean, that's a very broad statement because it does hold does have a lot of attachments and holds it up. But really, the main purpose of the spinal cord, of that spinal column, is to protect the nerves inside the spinal cord.
Absolutely.
So there's not a lot of other structure in here except for the musculature. And that's often why if this is weak, if I have a weak core, whether it's my front or back or sides, we're going to have back problems. This often manifest into back problems. And depending on how bad that core stability is, if it's really bad, which we're going to kind of have a 3-part series on this to talk about that a little bit more later. If the core strength is really bad, you're going to end up having other upper back problems, neck problems. You can even have problems in your legs. And so really, when we talk about injury prevention, a big part of it, at least when I train, is talking about core stability and core strength and how to use it in everyday life. So it does have a very big protective factor. It keeps us stable, whether we're just walking around, we're standing on one leg. If you don't keep your core tight to some degree, you're just going to fall over. We kind of naturally do that just subconsciously, but also using how to engage your core actively, even when we're doing those kind of activities, has a very protective nature to it.
The core really does 3 things. It braces, it rotates, and it prevents rotation. That's the short version of what Sean said.
I like to mansplain, I guess.
Like, yes, Sean, we know you're the master mansplainer.
Thank you. I hold that very high regard now. Actually, I didn't know what that was before for you guys.
Yep, we had to mansplaining to you.
It was great.
We could have on topic on that.
Now, something we kind of talked about a second ago. Nick and I've got a little fluff over there in our region. You know? Garrett does too. He's not out of this. A little fluff.
I got a pair.
Garrett does have a pair of abs
Yeah.
somewhere. They're there, I guess.
Some might confuse them as ribs.
And the big kind of myth that we talked about a couple weekends ago, a couple of one of our other live sessions, is the idea of targeted fat loss. So, Nick, can I do a bunch of crunches and lose just body fat?
You know, Sean, that's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked it. We got a study here by, it's titled The Effects of Sit-Up Exercise Training on Adipose Cell Size and Adiposity, which basically means the effects of sit-ups on fat cell size. That's what that means. And so it was a study done by Capsh, Clarkson, Kroll, McBride, and Wilcox in 2013. So it's a little bit older. But basically they would have one group do a whole bunch of sit-ups and then one group not. And
pretty sure they had like a structured diet. Like they controlled that. It was just you guys do sit-ups for your workouts. You guys just do kind of a regular workout. Nothing. Not really focusing necessarily on sit-ups or just kind of live your daily life, right?
That was a different one we're going to get. This one was just about sit-ups. So the results demonstrate that the conventional sit-up exercise does not preferentially reduce adipose cell size or subcutaneous fat thickness in the abdominal region to a greater extent compared to other adipose sites. So what that means, it burns everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another article I want to get into. This was one that Sean talked about. That they took two groups. One group did absolutely nothing. The other group had a 5-day-a-week core-specific exercise program. It's 15 minutes, 5 days a week, and it lasted for 6 weeks. And even in the group that was not, even though it was a group doing abdominal exercises and a group not exercising at all, there was no significant difference in loss of fat around the core. Mm-hmm. There was a difference in core strength and endurance, so the effectiveness of the core, but even with one group doing literally nothing, it didn't make a difference. The group that was doing specific core exercise did not lose a statistically significant amount of fat from their core.
And that's mostly because our body is always in homeostasis, right?
So
if I'm doing a lot of crunches and things here, maybe this is on fire and it feels hot. I feel really toned in it when I'm done. But your body's just going to pull calories and fat and whatever it needs to metabolize from other places in the body. It's not just going to specifically pull it there because it's there. It's going to use up those sugars maybe a little faster, but it's still pulling sugars from the bloodstream. And that can come from anywhere. Yep. So just doing crunches, just trying to do some sit-ups or abs is not going to give you a six-pack. It makes your core stronger.
Absolutely.
Which is an amazing benefit. That's why you should do them. But we just don't want people to go out there and, I want to get a six-pack, and we just do abs every day, all day.
Right.
Now, we kind of talked about it a little bit before. Let's go into what are the muscles of the abs, right? So we kind of talked about we have upper abs, lower abs, things like that, but the actual muscles, there's a lot of musculature in here that I don't think a lot of people realize or consider when we're talking about the abs, right?
Mm-hmm. How specific do we want to get?
Yeah.
Do we want to go, yes, Garrett?
Simple.
Simple?
Maybe like 5 or 6.
So the big ones that people think about would be the rectus abdominis and the abdominis obliquus. And those are sort of the middle ones, and then the side ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then a very important one in terms of effectiveness is the transverse abdominis. That might be the most important one. It runs along sort of the back there, like deep inside. Can't see it, and it doesn't really do anything visually, but it's probably the most important muscle of the core in that aspect. So Those would probably be the three main ones. And then on the back, as part of the core, you know, the erector spinae, the three of them, iliocostalis, longissimus, and spinalis. You don't need to know that.
I like longissimus though because it goes with the entire back.
You see, I like that because the way that you remember it from medial to lateral is I like spaghetti. ILS. That's one of my favorite ones.
We went to different schools.
I hate both of you.
Anyway.
That's how you remember the order. If you want to remember the order of the erector spinae, it's I like spaghetti.
It's not the acronym what I'm laughing at. It's how you say it.
I like spaghetti.
The inflection at the end that makes it great. But
Okay, but like I love spaghetti.
I know you do.
Spaghetti.
Off
topic again.
And then a little bit, depending on what school of thought you prescribe to, the lats become very important in the lower back and the core and things like that.
A lot of people don't realize too is that there are many layers in the core. So it's not like I was saying, transverse abdominis. It's one of the last layers, right?
Yes.
So it's behind all these cores. What makes up your six pack? You're not going to see it because all those muscles on top. That's what's bulging out, and that's what you physically see. So there's many layers to it. And so when we're working out, we're doing sit-ups. We're working a lot of those, but maybe to lesser extents. We're still kind of working out the obliques when we're doing that.
Absolutely.
But just not to the extent of the your top pair of abs up of your core.
Nothing really works in isolation. The body is all connected. Everything is connected. If you're moving here, there's things down in here that are helping it do that. So everything's connected.
And so now we've talked a lot kind of about this front part, but a big portion of the core, we kind of said, is the back and utilizing that. Just a little disclaimer though, right? We don't want to solely use the back. That's where if people get injured, they're picking up something from the ground, pick up a weight, pick up a box, and instead of utilizing the core to do it, you kind of focus on that lower back. That's when we get injured. So the back is still an integral part. We're still going to use it in that motion to pick things up, or we're still going to use it in the motion to twist or whatever we're trying to do, but overusing it and not utilizing the front core with it can be bad. It can cause injury.
Absolutely.
That's really kind of where the glute, as Nick says, glutes come in, because then we're using those glutes to stabilize. We're using those glutes to pick up. And so that's kind of are part of the back core in there.
Absolutely, yeah. They do so much in stabilizing the hips and the back and everything as you're doing it to get that extra strength and support it.
So let's go into, I think, what a lot of people are here for.
But they want to know.
They wonder, what do we
You got to give the people what they pay for.
We do. We need to. Now, I did, unfortunately, forget my belly shirt at home.
Okay, it is a free service. So keep in mind, the quality is what you pay for, but you're getting what you pay for.
That's why you got these two.
So you got a bunch of idiots running this.
So we're going to do a little bit of a core workout. Show a couple of core, upper core, lower core, oblique workouts. You can put some Superman in there. And then at the very end, we'll kind of tie that into how best to tie it into your workout, when to kind of use some of these ideas. All right. So I'll get down on the ground. Oh, thank you, Nick, for
Hey, anything for you, buddy.
staying right there.
Hey, you got to give the people what they pay for.
So, starting with more the upper abs.
Your feet go that way. There you go.
Rotate.
There you go.
Whoa there, Jonathan.
So, starting with more of the upper abs. I think the very first one everyone thinks about is going to be just a crunch. Remember, like in the 90s, there was that little machine.
Yeah, the little.
And the further you pushed it down, you would go into like different zones or whatever.
Yeah.
I go to my aunt's house and use that all the time. She just had it on the floor. You just sit there and just rock out like 200 of them.
Yeah, there's one at Stacey. It's a little bit different, but yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
I like just chilling in it. It's super comfy to just like lay on the ground in.
The head support's great.
Yeah, right?
So basic crunch. Legs are up at a knees bent. I'm going to keep my lower back, my back pretty stable on the ground, and just lift my shoulder blades up. I'm not looking to really over
Yes!
arch. I'm not coming. I see a lot of people like almost look straight ahead.
Yeah, then there's really not much core engagement there. That's just pretty much.
I'm gonna just lift up, come back down. Keep my brace. Kind of. I think we've mentioned that in a couple videos here. Is keep that core brace. Keep that back flat on the ground. I shouldn't be able to put a hand underneath my back at any point in time. That's really going to target the very upper portion of your abs, right in the middle. Progress that. Eventually, we're going to get up to like a sit-up. So, again, try to keep your back nice and straight, nice and flat. Come up and back down.
Make sure you're controlling it on the way down. A lot of people will just sort of fall, and that's not what you want to do. Like, that's bad.
Come down, nice control.
Again, when we're talking about the core, it's stability, it's control. So that's important.
Power crunches.
Rip them out.
God.
So start out with those. There are ways to make this harder by not just by doing more reps. I mean, that's obviously one way. You can just do more. Just keep doing more sit-ups or whatever. For sit-ups specifically or crunches, bring your arms overhead, creating a little bit of extra leverage up here. You can also extend your feet out. You can lift your feet up, although that's going to start engaging the lower core, which we'll talk about here in a second. You can also add some weight to it.
We can grab our handy dandy little friend over here, hand it to Sean.
Keep it closer to the core when you start out. Come up, same thing. And then as you want to progress, even the same weight, I don't need to just go and grab another 25. I can just take this up and make it harder that way. Increase the leverage by pushing that weight out further. So it's going to work out your shoulders. And as Garrett wants me to demonstrate, coming out over here, over your head, and then coming up.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
You hear that? You can hear that brace.
I just want to see if we can do it.
Dude, I'm so
Just
proud.
glad you can give me a 25.
I thought about giving him a 5, and I was like, nah, we'll push him a little bit.
I should give it a 25. Because now I'm not struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Those are your basic, just upper middle core. We're staying in this straight line. We're not doing a lot of bending or twisting right now at this point, right? Going to the next one, obliques. I like to, my natural next thing to do is just kind of flop your legs over and do a crunch. Right? So same time, speed up. All I'm going to do is try to get my back as flat to the ground as I can, and then just lift my shoulder blades up. I'm really trying to isolate, feel the crunch in here, although isolating really, in the core we're not isolating, but trying to isolate as much as possible and just feel the side. I'm still not coming up and just turning my head like this. I'm coming straight up, lifting my shoulder blades up and coming down. There are other ways to do obliques. We can do Russian twists, which is another one of my favorites. Probably a little more advanced, really, than just doing what I did.
Yeah.
But feet off the ground. You can keep them on the ground to start off with. Nice straight back. Come and touch each side. Once this starts to get easy, you've done a couple, you can start adding the weight. Again, keep the weight in closer to start off with, and then you can also push the weight out there a little bit further and increase the leverage from where you're at.
Also lean back a little further.
And yet, lean back a little bit further. Then you can start engaging more of your
Lower.
upper and lower core when you do that, especially if you can keep your feet off the ground. But you're still going to feel a lot in your obliques doing that. Any other core oblique ones? Want to go over?
Those are the two, like, sort of body weight ones that I would default to. And another good one, the side plank, if we're trying to get into that. And yeah.
So the side plank, feet stacked on top of each other.
If you want to start with them staggered, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yep.
But then the progression is 2.
And also start from your knees if you need
Correct.
to.
If
Bend,
you can't do it at all, start from your knees. That's
bend
a
the
good point there.
knees, just start from there. Yep. And you can plank up.
Mm-hmm. You can also either take it on your elbow or up on your hand. I think honestly, hand's a little easier, but
Head is
Yeah.
easier, you're more upright.
I agree. Yeah.
so this is, I guess, more of an intermediate starting position. But feet stacked, elbow on the ground, and we just want to make sure I'm not trying to over crunch here. I don't have a sag. I want to try and keep a nice and straight line from my shoulder all the way down. Which if I got, that's awesome. And then also, obviously, just keep bracing right here. Your main brace is going to come from this.
You could get real fancy and do like
Yeah,
some
you can do
rotation stuff.
rotations in there. There's so many progressions that you can do from the plank and the side plank.
Yep.
So.
Add a little bit of weight. Like,
I think
name your game. Like that's what.
Yeah, we're not going into that right now.
No.
I have those like little like the wobbly sticks.
The yeah,
I don't know what they're actually called. But they're like these wobbly like long
the
pieces
body
of wood.
blades.
Yeah.
Body blades.
So you take it and you can move it and shake it.
Dude, that's hard as shit doing that.
I like those things.
Yeah, me too. I think they're really
They're
good.
expensive too.
Yeah,
All right, and then last for the front sides, lower core, so lower abdominals. This is one where a lot of people we see the back come off the ground because you have such a long lever with your legs. We're gonna start again, my nice and flat, backs on the ground. I'm gonna bring my feet up. I can come up to here. I can keep them a little lower. I can stretch them out to make it a little harder. But what I'm doing is I'm feeling this more in my lower abdominals down here. Keep my back flat on the ground, my legs straight as possible. From here, you can do some flutter kicks. You can bring them all the way up and do some reverse crunches or some cylinders, lifting your back off the ground or lifting your butt off the ground. Still keeping it nice and stable. When you are doing a lot of these, a lot of people have tendencies to kind of like chop. We want to keep it nice and stable, nice and slow movements.
Are you quivering?
A little bit.
I was wondering if you were going to say something about that.
Nice and stable. Keep it controlled. Not a lot of fluff around.
That's just a variation off your dead bugs too.
Which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Next week.
We aren't going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, is that what? Oh, okay.
Garrett really likes his dead bugs.
Me too.
Garrett and Nick really like their dead bugs.
Because it's a phenomenal core exercise.
Yeah, this crunches just aren't fun for me. All 7 of them.
Do you not like bed bugs? We don't need to talk about
No.
that.
Okay.
He's been doing it. He's been doing it though.
And then kind of wrap this stuff up because we have talked about the back quite a bit. Back exercises, a lot of them I feel like are best done like a hyperextension machine or GHD. Easy way to do it without any of those though is Superman's.
Legs up front. You see that. A lot of people will do it. There's different variations.
Mm-hmm.
With your hands down at the side works something a little bit different. But for this one, we're going to do the hands up in front.
Your shoulder mobility's hindered too. You can go wider.
That's a good point, yeah.
Hands out further, gonna be a little harder. I've been doing this a lot, so I've been kind of keeping my hands up in here a little bit more, just more comfortable for me. Nice big brace. Lift your quads, your chest off the ground, come back down.
The goal here is, like you said, to make sure that chest stays up and your quads are up. But then your hips stay pushed down, that core is staying tight, the engagement is right down on both sides of the spine. Attaboy.
So, putting all this together, people tend to do ab workouts very differently. Trainers do them differently. They put them in different areas of the exercise. There's a lot of trainers, a lot of people just kind of throw them in at the end. I know I do that sometimes, especially because I've just worked out, I'm tired, but I still want to do a little extra. I'm going to do some abs. I'm going to do some core. Best way is to have a structured workout where you're either integrating them throughout your workout or you're putting them at the end or the beginning for a reason. And we're not just bringing it in there.
Okay, I'm going to pause you right there.
Go ahead.
So that you can catch your breath.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
But every exercise that you should do should have some form of core engagement. If it's on a machine, less so. But if you're like squatting or moving a bar or standing or anything, you should be thinking about that core and purposefully engaging it. And so while it might not be a traditional core exercise, it's still working the core. I mean, anybody who's ever squatted fairly heavily knows it works the core. You feel your core afterwards. You can feel your core during it. So it's not just specific core exercises, but yes, you should have some specific core exercises.
Should be equivalent to what your task is.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Or Sean, 5 crunches.
You can throw them kind of in the workout as you're going. If you just want to throw them at the end, again, you can. Just make sure we're not just kind of throwing them in to throw them in. Make them part of the workout. I like to do a quick 5-minute abs at the end sometimes, just because I want to get a little extra pump in or whatever. And that's just me putting together a sit-up, a side crunch, and a leg lift, and do it for 5 minutes, a minute each. The leg lifts only get 1 minute, but that's the point. You can put them into your workout. So right now, actually, Garrett's been helping me with my workouts a lot lately. On Fridays, I've been doing like a lunge down, come back, do some push-ups, which is engaging your core, and then finish with a Superman. Do that Superman at the end. It's still, we're integrating it in. I'm getting a little bit more exercise at the end. You don't want to go, what we don't want to do is push the core too hard to where I'm so sore the next day that, it's hard to take it down. That's
We've
pretty
all
rough.
done there. We've made that mistake.
30 minutes waiting.
You're sitting there.
You know you got to. You know you got
Don't
to.
want to push, but you got it.
I do, like a lot of times, so personally I'll add my core in kind of to the middle of my workout, but it doesn't interfere with following exercises.
Right.
I have a tendency to skip core work. So
Core work hurts.
I make it for in the middle of my workout so I get it done.
Yeah.
And then I get to the stuff that I really want to do. But that's a personal issue.
Yeah. In terms of timing, it's what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to do it.
it's really easy to not do that. Any doodle.
3 minutes of planks? No thanks.
Thanks for reminding me on that. Most core exercises should really be based around time, not reps. It's really more making sure that that core is engaged and working for at least 30 to 45 seconds. There was another study done by Steve Giustiavi who showed that it was actually more about the hips than the core, but that injury prevention really requires at least 45 seconds of engagement during that exercise. So time is more important.
5-minute abs. Thank you.
No, it's not continuous though.
Yeah, continuous though. So your 1 minute plank, leg lift, all of that, that's good.
Okay.
That's what you want to do. Because Sean was saying he was doing 1 minute of crunches, not 10 crunches.
Yeah.
And that's better.
Perfect.
And then plus it helps me to, if I have a minute, and then I do 20 crunches in the first minute. The next time I do that exercise, I want to try and get 21, 22. And it helps kind of push you a little bit too.
That's an easy way to track progression.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions on there, Garrett?
Your wife thought that the 10 pounds was too much for you. She's proud of you though, and she loves you.
She knows you worked hard. You did your best.
Thanks.
Oh, I can't see this one.
At least I did my best, guys.
That's all we can ask,
It's most of the time. Oh, I didn't do this. Good. You guys already went over the targeting the core stuff. It doesn't decrease fat in the core. It doesn't. So that's one of the questions again. It doesn't decrease the fat in the core. You will get stronger. You could have some hypertrophy, so maybe they show a little more, but it doesn't necessarily do what you think it's doing.
Yeah, it's not burning fat from the core.
No.
It will make you stronger, obviously, but
Yeah.
no, it doesn't.
If you already have abs, they're going to show more because they're
More
they're
like-
swollen, they're pumped.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just a pump.
Yeah. So I mean, you have that aspect of it. Back problems. Get a hold of probably Nick or Sean. If you got some stuff that wants to do with that and build a better core for back problems, that's a more specific issue to what's going on with you.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to answer that here.
A lot of bracing though, a lot of learning.
Yeah.
It's a lot of learning how to brace your core, not just like we said in the beginning. It's just
Pay-
everyday life.
Pay attention to our next video, stability in the core.
I think next one's stability in the
Okay, one of the next two videos will be more of that.
Mm-hmm.
You probably want to pay attention to that. Can you look bulky doing too many abs?
No.
Sean, lift up your shirt.
I guess.
It's bulky.
Not really. Okay,
It's not
so
just
It
gonna.
has to be super exaggerated.
what are we talking about bulky? Who asked that question? Was it a male or female?
Female.
Okay.
Unlikely.
Yeah, no,
Without-
it's not gonna happen.
Unlikely without a lot of assistance.
Yeah, and for females, you're gonna need some needle assistance as well
Yes.
to get a bunch of bulk.
Uh,
Women don't really tend to bulk up at all.
no. Guys, it'd have to be super
Yeah,
exaggerated.
it's not gonna happen on accident.
No. Same kind of assistance.
Yeah.
You look at strongman, really heavy bodybuilders, until they brace in, they have kind of a bigger gut. Not really gut, because it has a six-pack
Yeah,
on it.
exactly,
But,
yeah.
yes, that's it. So, unlikely. You would have to be doing far more than average.
Yeah. What we're talking about is not gonna get you there.
No, exactly. I think that's good, guys. Do you have anything you want to add in, guys?
Join us in 2 weeks. We're going to kind of take this a step further. We're going to talk about more core stability, more bracing stuff. Garrett and Nick going to talk about their dead bugs.
Yeah!
Love some dead bug.
Otherwise, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for starting your day the 501 way. If you guys want to reach out to us, you can always drop us a DM on Facebook, Instagram, or always reach out to us on our website at team501fitness.com. Anyways, guys, have a great week. We'll talk to you later.